This is my second MasterBuilt smoker. My first one that I got at Bass Pro Shops was the single door model, and then this one is actually the two-door model. So you have the main cooking area on the top door, and then you have the heating and smoking area on the bottom door. So what I've done with this smoker is I've done some modifications that allow me to run it as a cold smoker between 160 and 180 degrees, or as a propane smoker in combination with charcoal and the wood of my choice. So first off, what comes with the MasterBuilt is a little smoker tray that is pretty much worthless. You can put a few little bitty chips in there, but for any kind of extended smoke time, it's pretty much a worthless tray. And then as well comes a really small water pan with a little drippings pan. And then the water pan sits inside of this rack and sits right above the fire. And I discovered on the first pork butt that I cooked that all the water evaporated out within about an hour or two. And of course the little wood chips that I put in the little smoker box there didn't last long at all. So for any kind of long cooks, it was basically useless. So those pieces right there I'm just going to throw into the trash. And then I'll show you what I've done to modify the actual smoker. The temperature gauge it came with was much too small. I had an extra stoke temperature gauge with larger numbers, so I put that on there. Might even get a larger temperature one. Now that I'm getting a little bit older, it's a little harder to see the small numbers, so I'll probably get a larger dial with some easier to read numbers. As you can see, I have a little bit of smoke that comes out between the two doors there. So I might get some of that felt lining that is made for smokers and put that on the inside. But what I've discovered from a cold smoking perspective, if I disconnect the propane tank, my propane tank's actually empty, so I just took it off. But if you turn off your propane tank and just run charcoal, and right now I'm using hickory wood, the temperature will not go above 160 to 170 degrees at sea level based on the oxygen flow. I have the vents in the back fully closed and I've done nothing to the bottom, but I've discovered no matter how much charcoal I put or wood I put in there, it will maintain 160 to 170, which is perfect for smoking salmon and other items that require more of a cold smoke. And then I'll show you what I've done for the water pan. Open up here. So what I've done with the water pan is I moved the old one out, and on the bottom rack I put a chafing dish, lined it with aluminum foil, and completely filled it up with water with my water hose. And that will most likely just become a permanent addition from now on to my smoker. And then I'm just cooking up some chicken thighs today with a couple of jalapenos to experiment. Of course, that's not a high enough temperature to really cook them, but I ran out of propane, so I decided to experiment with the cold smoker side, and I'll probably just finish these in the oven to get them up to 160 degrees. But as you can see here, the chafing dish, which is about $17 at Smart & Final, holds a lot of water and should be able to last through a 12-hour pork butt or brisket without any issues whatsoever. But I'll experiment with that when I get a chance. This MasterBuilt's great too because these shelves actually slide out, and have a bug trying to go into my smoker. There we go. And I'll close this back up. And then I'll show you the bottom, what I've done. So the bottom of this is great because that's where you actually have your propane burner. And then what I did was I got a big cast iron, I believe it's a 10-inch pot or pan, and with my gloves on I can easily add wood or charcoal whenever needed. Right now I've got a bunch of charcoal in here and a chunk of hickory wood, and from what I've seen that will last for hours at 160 to 180. So next week when I get a chance, I'm going to cook up some, smoke up some salmon and then some other, maybe some sausage or something. And the only modification I made to this base is it had a couple slats on there for holding the little bitty smoker box in place. And I just took my angle grinder with a cut-off blade and easily cut it out of there. But you can see how well it retains the smoke. And it's really easy to just take the cast iron, stick it back in there. And I believe, like I said before, it's either a 10-inch or a 12-inch, but it gives me plenty of room to get it in and out and plenty of smoke. Close this back up. And then once again, if I open both doors up, you can kind of get an idea of the setup of the smoker.